Cells specializing in one function are often grouped together in the body. This means that a particular function is carried out by a cluster of cells at a definite place in the body. This cluster of cells are called a tissue, which is arranged and designed so as to give the highest possible efficiency of the function. Say, for example, in plants, we have parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, xylem, phloem, and all of them they have different kind of functions which are required by the plant body. In plants, the growth occurs only in certain specific regions. This is because the dividing tissue, which is called as meristematic tissue, is the region where they are present. Depending upon the region where they are present, they are called apical, lateral, or intercalary meristem tissues. New cells produced by meristems are initially like those of meristem itself, but as they grow and mature, their characteristics shows slowly change and they become differentiated as components of other tissues. Apical meristem is present at the growing tips of stems and roots and increase the length of the stem and the root. The girth of the stem or root is increased due to lateral meristem. Intercalary meristem seen in some plants is located near the nodes. Cells of meristematic tissues are very active. They have dense cytoplasm, thin cellulose walls, and prominent nuclei. They lack vacuoles. What happens to the cells formed by meristematic tissues? They take up a specific role and lose the ability to divide. As a result, they form a permanent tissue. This process of taking up a permanent shape, size, and a function is called differentiation. Differentiation leads to the development of various types of permanent tissues. A few layers of cells beneath the epidermis are generally simple permanent tissue. Parenchyma is the most common simple permanent tissue. It consists of relatively unspecialized cell with thin cell walls. They are living cells. They are usually loosening arranged, thus large spaces between the cells, which are called intercellular spaces, are found in the tissues. This tissue generally stores food. In aquatic plants, large air cavities are present in parenchyma to help them to float. Such a parenchyma type is called aerenchyma. In some situations, it contains chlorophyll and performs photosynthesis, and then this type of parenchyma is called collenchyma. The flexibility in the plants is due to another permanent tissue which is called as collenchyma. It allows bending of various parts of plant like tendrils and stems of climbers without breaking. It also provides mechanical support. We can find this tissue in leaf stalks below the epidermis. The cells of this tissue are living, elongated, and irregularly thickened at the corners. This is very little intercellular spaces they have. Yet another type of permanent tissue is sclerenchyma. It is the tissue which makes the plant hard and stiff. We have seen the husk of coconut. It is made up of sclerenchymatous tissue. The cells of this tissue are dead. They are long and narrow as the walls are thickened due to lignin. Often these walls are so thick that there is no internal space inside the cell. This tissue is present in stem around vascular bundle, in the veins of leaves, and in the hard coverings of seeds and nuts. It provides strength to the plant parts. Another type of permanent tissue is a complex tissue. Complex tissues are made up of more than one type of cells. All these cells coordinate to perform a common function. Xylem and phloem are the examples of such complex tissues. They are both conducting and constitute a vascular bundle. Xylem consists of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. Tracheids and vessels have thick walls, and many are dead cells when mature. Tracheids and vessels are tubular structures. This allows them to transport water and minerals vertically. The parenchyma stores food. Xylem fibers are mainly supportive in functions. Whereas phloem is made up of five types of cells, sieve tubes, companion cells, and phloem fibers. Also, it has phloem parenchyma. Sieve tubes are tubular cells with perforated walls. Phloem transports food from leaves to other part of the plant. Except phloem fibers, other phloem cells are living cells. Animals too also have tissues like blood and muscles. They are some of the examples of tissues found in animal body. On the basis of functions they perform, we can think of different types of animal tissues like epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. Blood is a type of connective tissue, and muscle forms a muscular tissue. The covering or protective tissue in the animal body are epithelial tissues. Epithelium covers most organs and cavities within the body. It also forms a barrier to keep different body systems separate. The skin, the lining of the mouth, the lining of blood vessels, lungs, alveoli, kidney tubules, all are made up of epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue cells are tightly packed and form a continuous sheet. They have only a small amount of cementing material between them and almost no intercellular spaces. There are different types of epithelia. They show differing structures that correlate with their unique functions. Simple squamous epithelial cells are extremely thin and flat and form a delicate lining. The esophagus and the lining of mouth are also covered with squamous epithelia. The skin, which protects the layer of the body, is also made up of squamous epithelium. Skin epithelial cells are arranged in many layers to prevent wear and tear. Since they are arranged in a pattern of layers, the epithelium is called stratified squamous epithelium. Where absorption and secretion occurs as the lining of the intestine, tall epithelial cells are present. This columnar or pillar-like epithelium facilitates movement across the epithelial barrier. In the respiratory tract, the columnar epithelial tissue also has cilia, which are hair-like structures on the outer surface of epithelial cells. These cilia can move, and their movement pushes the mucus forward to clear it. This type of epithelium is called ciliated columnar epithelium. Cuboidal epithelium with cube-shaped cells forms the lining of kidney tubules and ducts of salivary glands, where it provides mechanical support. Epithelial cells often acquire additional specialization as gland cells, which can secrete substances at the epithelial surface. Sometimes a portion of epithelial tissue folds inward and multicellular glands are formed. This is glandular epithelium. Bone is a type of connective tissue. It forms the framework that supports the body. It also anchors the muscles and support the main organ of the body. It is strong and non-flexible tissue. Bone cells are embedded in the heart matrix that is composed of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Two bones can be connected to each other by another type of connective tissue called as ligament. This tissue is very elastic. It has considerable strength. Ligament contain a very little matrix and connects bones with bones, whereas tendons connects muscles to bones. They are another type of connective tissue. Tendons are fibrous tissues with great strength but limited flexibility. Another type of connective tissue is cartilage, has widely spaced cells. The solid matrix is composed of proteins and sugar. Cartilage smoothens bone surfaces at joints and is also present in the nose, ear, trachea, and larynx. We can fold the cartilage of the ear, but we cannot bend the bones in our arms. Blood is also a kind of connective tissue. The reason is that it flows to each and every part of the body and it is fluid matrix, which is called as plasma, in which red blood corpuscles, white blood corpuscles, and platelets are suspended. The plasma contains proteins, salts, and hormones. Blood flows and transport gases, digest food, hormones, and waste material to different part of the body. Hence, they connect one part to another. Fat storing adipose tissue is found below the skin and between internal organs. The cells of this tissue are filled with fat globules. Storage of fats also let it act as an insulator. Areolar connective tissue is found between the skin and the muscles, around blood vessels and nerves, and in the bone marrow. It fills the space inside the organs, supports internal organs, and help in repair of tissues. Now let's talk of muscular tissue. Muscular tissue consists of elongated cells, also called as muscle fiber. This tissue is responsible for movement in our body. They contain special protein called contractile protein which contract and relaxes to cause movement. Striated muscles. These are muscle tissues that is made up of long thin cells with many nuclei and with alternate light and dark stripes that usually connects to and moves the vertebrae skeleton, and that is the mostly under voluntary control. These muscles convert chemical energy into physical work and their main function are to generate force and contract. Next is the skeletal muscle. These muscles enable breathing movement and posture maintenance. They also protect and support internal organs and tissues. Skeletal muscles are voluntary, meaning we can control them and when and how they work. Cardiac muscles, they are the strongest of all muscles as they have to work whole life without stopping. These muscles pumps the blood throughout the body. The heart's pacemaker cells respond to signals from the automatic nervous system to increase or decrease the heart rate. Nervous tissue is made up of neurons and glial cells and is found in the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. These cells generate and conduct electrical impulse that allows cells in the nervous tissue to communicate with one another. Neurons have three main parts: the dendrites, cell body, and axon. Nervous tissue coordinates and control many body activities like sensation, movement, emotions, memory, and reasoning. Nervous tissue is excitable and responds to electrical stimuli. Impulses are sent along a series of nerves at about 300 mph. Hope the concepts of tissues are quite clear to you. There are certain differences between plant tissues and animal tissues also. They are that plant tissues, they have cell wall which animals do not have. Plant tissues have plastids which animals do not have, and plant tissues are having big vacuoles which gives them a proper shape and size to the structure of their cells, and animals they have got less vacuoles and smaller vacuoles than plants. For more and detailed information, kindly visit www.skills